The Ecowas Court of Justice has indicted the Nigerian government for violation of human rights and other abuses during its response to the ENDSARS protest, particularly its disproportionate use of force at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos on October 20, 2020. In finding the federal government guilty, the ECOWAS court, in a ruling delivered by the judge rapporteur, Justice Koroma Sengu, slammed a 10 million naira compensation against the government for each victim named in the suit. While the court, however, dismissed the allegation that the right to life as guaranteed under Article 4 of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights was violated. The case was filed before the ECOWAS court by a coalition of human rights activists and organizations that alleged severe violations of fundamental human rights by Nigerian security forces. Amnesty International had also submitted an amicus brief, which was declared admissible by the court. Well, lawyer and Arise analyst Frank Tietie joins us now for more on this. Frank, good to see you. What does this fine mean for Nigeria?
Well, it comes with a great relief, and that's what truth usually does, because there's been a lot of prevarications, especially on the part of Nigerian the authorities and security forces, making denials, and then a lot of commissions of inquiries, panels of inquiries that were set up, but even though none has actually been very forthright in making these declarations that the Nigerian government was wrong because of the acts of its security forces in the way it deployed force to its own citizens at the Lekki toll gate. So this comes with a huge relief for those of us in the human rights community. This is a very welcome development on the part of the court. And that's what the ECOWAS court is supposed to be. Many people don't know that the ECOWAS court, you can't appeal against the judgment of the ECOWAS court. And besides that, it's actually become very relevant after it's the protocol establishing it was amended to give it the jurisdiction to deal with human rights cases, violation of human rights of citizens, that is community citizens. And we're talking about citizens from the 15 member states, including Nigeria. And then oftentimes human rights norms and standards are known all over the world. So to a large extent you can predict the outcome of cases you take to the ECOWAS court, because they are actually above many forms of political influence that you find in national courts.
And Tietie, this is happening at a time where Nigeria is the chairman of ECOWAS. So in terms of compliance and again guarding any kind of reoccurrence in the future, what does this mean for the country and other West African states?
It's important that the courts always have a way of giving the true judgment about the situation of every violation, especially human rights violation. And that's what international law sets to do, by setting standards for which member countries can actually follow. So it's a civilizing process. This is a milestone, a huge milestone, when the ECOWAS court is able to hold one of its major members, Nigeria, to account by declaring that you did not treat your citizens rightly in the way you deployed force. Now, it doesn't matter now. We have our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as chairman of the ECOWAS right now. However, these violations occurred in the time of former President Muhammadu Buhari. That case, to my finding, was actually filed in 2021. It took quite long. It took quite long, up to 2024, before the judgment was given. And I queried that. But you cannot also blame the court, because you just have one court that is sitting over all cases of human rights violations that are brought to it from 15 member countries. And and sadly, and this is very sad, to think that that court with that kind of huge responsibility has just 5 members, and it must constitute a panel of 3 members to hear every case, meaning that it cannot sit concurrently, which means just 5 members, it must sit at one time. So it's understandable that it took that long for the court to make that decision. However, what comes as a very cheering news is that you know, the ECOWAS court is there for any member state to approach. I mean, any citizen of a member state to approach. And it doesn't matter whether you have your case already in a court in Nigeria that is ongoing, so long as you feel that you're not satisfied and that you can actually approach the ECOWAS court to get judgment. Enforcement is a different thing entirely.
Absolutely.
However, you can expect to know what the law is.
So, in ruling, the ECOWAS court actually threw out the allegation of violation, of right to life.
Yes.
What do you make of that? And do you think 2 million naira goes far enough in terms of a deterrent?
Not quite. Sometimes I don't agree that 2 million naira is sufficient when it has to do with a situation where the right to life is violated. But you see, court always rules on the evidence that is before it. I have appeared before the court a record of 4 times, and I actually got a judgment that in the case where I filed to determine the violation of the right to life of a soldier that shot dead a Nigerian citizen in Jos, and the court awarded a whooping sum of 50 million naira. So it's a different case. So in this case, the people who approached the court are alive. They didn't die. It depends. If they depend on a relative of somebody who was killed in the course of at Lucky Tollgate, was able to prove that form of nexus between the death and the application of excessive force, the court would have taken a different direction and a different move. But in this case, when you say that your right to freedom to assemble and your right to freedom to express yourself freely, those rights have been violated, the court has now given that kind of compensatory award in the sense that it will serve as a deterrence, but most likely and all the time it's actually symbolic, not necessarily as a way of trying to give the person some kind of award that will transform his life forever. However, it compels the government to pay something as a mark to show that it is actually regrets what its agents have done at the Lucky Tollgate.
Yes, indeed. Frank Tietie, lawyer and a RISE analyst. Thank you very much, as always.
My pleasure.